My name is Ethan Cole. I'm 31, and for most of my adult life, I believed I had done everything right. I met Vanessa when I was 22. She was 25, a charming, confident, and effortlessly magnetic. The kind of woman who lit up a room without trying. I fell hard and fast. She had a son, Eli, from a previous relationship. He was 2 at the time. I didn't blink, didn't hesitate. From the moment I met that boy, he felt like mine. I stepped in, fully. Diapers, midnight feedings, tantrums, every part of fatherhood that most guys run from, I embraced. And when Mason was born 2 years later, my biological son, I was already used to having a child tug on my shirt calling me daddy. By 26, I was married with 2 kids, a house just outside Denver, and a mortgage that made me sweat a little every month. But I was proud. I was building something real. My job in software development paid well enough, and I used every extra hour to grow a side business in mobile app design. It was slow at first, sure, but it was mine. Vanessa worked too, though her jobs came and went. She'd try one thing, get bored, quit, bounce to the next. I never judged her for it. I thought, it's okay. I've got us covered. She just needs time to find what she loves. But then came January of last year. She picked up a part-time night gig at a bar, serving drinks and waiting tables. Said it was just temporary. A friend helped her get the job. Good tips, low pressure, she claimed. I didn't think much of it. I trusted her. The first month? Smooth. She'd work her shift, come home by midnight, crawl into bed next to me, smelling like lime wedges and margarita mix. We'd laugh, talk, and even joke about the wild bar crowd. She'd tell me about customers hitting on her and how ridiculous it all was. But soon, the shifts got longer. She started staying out until 2 a.m., then 3. I'm just hanging with coworkers, she'd say casually, kicking off her shoes, eyes half closed. We like to blow off steam after work. Nothing serious. I wanted to believe her. I mean, why wouldn't I? This was the woman I built my life with. The mother of my children. My partner. Still, I offered to plan us some date nights. Something to reconnect. Movies. Board games. Even a cooking class. But every time I brought it up, she looked distant. Tired. Not in the mood. Rain check. Maybe next week. It started to feel like I was begging for scraps of her time. The boys noticed it too. Eli, especially. One night, he came into my home office with his pillow and asked, "Is Mom mad at us?" That one hit like a truck. "No, buddy," I said, tucking him in on the couch beside me. "She's just busy." But I didn't believe it anymore. Still, I kept trying. I'd cook dinner for all of us. To bedtime with the kids. Help with homework. Then go back to the office and grind out hours on my side business, designing, coding, emailing clients until 2 a.m. I was exhausted, but I kept pushing. Because that's what husbands do, right? They carry it all. Then came the night she sat me down at the kitchen table, glass of wine in her hand. Smile too wide to be sincere. "I need to tell you something," she said. My chest tightened. I thought she was going to tell me she was quitting her job. Maybe moving away. But no. She giggled. "I think I have a schoolgirl crush," she said. I blinked. "On who?" She twirled her wine glass. "One of the guys at work. He's cute. Nothing serious. I just thought I should be honest." Honest? Something in my stomach flipped. His name, she said, was Jake. He was funny, sarcastic, a little rough around the edges. Like if Ryan Reynolds had a baby with a lumberjack, she joked. I laughed. What else could I do? Pretend it didn't sting? I even said, "It's normal. We all get crushes. Don't let it mess with your head." She smiled, relieved. Kissed me on the cheek like I was some saint for her, not freaking out. But something about that night lingered. I couldn't sleep. For the first time in years, I lay awake wondering what my wife was thinking about as she curled away from me in bed. A week later, she had a girls' night. Said they were doing trivia at the bar after hours. I stayed with the kids, made popcorn, watched cartoons with Mason until he crashed on the couch. Vanessa didn't come home until 4:15 a.m. I remember staring at the digital clock, watching the minutes tick by, wondering if this was what the beginning of the end felt like. I didn't say anything that morning. Just handed her a cup of coffee when she woke up and kissed the boys goodbye before school. But something in me shifted that day. A crack. Small, but deep. And I knew I couldn't ignore it anymore. The next few weeks were a blur of pretending. Pretending I didn't feel the distance. Pretending I didn't see the way she smiled at her phone every night, her eyes glowing with that same flirtatious energy I used to think was only mine. Vanessa became unreachable. Not physically. We still shared the same roof, the same bed, but emotionally? She was light years away. I'd ask how her day was. Fine. I'd ask who she hung out with. You don't know them. I'd ask what she wanted for dinner. Whatever. It was like talking to a locked door. The woman I once whispered dreams to in the dark, the woman who cried with me when we bought our first crib, had vanished. Then came the job loss. The startup I worked for ran out of funding and cut half the team overnight. I came home stunned, still clutching the cardboard box with my monitor, keyboard, and a stress ball with her old logo. I expected panic from Vanessa. At the very least, some concern. Instead, she barely looked up from her phone. That sucks, she said flatly. What are you going to do? What was I going to do? I was going to fight. I had 2 kids, a mortgage, and a wife who clearly wasn't going to carry the load if I collapsed. So I took my side business, something I had treated like a passion project, and turned it into a full-time job. I poured everything into it. I was working 12 to 14 hours a day. I rebuilt the website, chased clients, pitched like crazy. And slowly, it worked. Within a month, I was earning what I made before. Some months more. But still, Vanessa drifted. She never asked how the business was going. Never offered to help with the boys. In fact, she started spending even more time out of the house. Extra shifts, she said. They need me to close. One night, I offered to come by the bar and surprise her with coffee. She snapped. Don't do that, she said sharply. It's embarrassing. Embarrassing? That word echoed in my head for days. Then came the trip. She said she wanted to visit her old friend in Phoenix. A girls' weekend. For days. I nodded, told her to go. You deserve a break, I said, even though every part of me was screaming not to let her leave. She kissed the kids goodbye, hugged me stiffly. Then she was gone. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I did everything, packed lunches, helped Eli with his science project, made pancakes Sunday morning. But every night, when I lay in our empty bed, I felt something I hadn't let myself feel in years. Loneliness. She texted occasionally during the trip. A selfie here, a blurry concert photo there. No mention of the friend she supposedly went to visit. Just vague captions like, great night, and so needed this. I should have known. When she got back, she was different. Distant in a new way, cold, but humming with some kind of secret satisfaction. Her phone never left her side. She changed her password, kept it face down. She even started sleeping in a camisole I'd never seen before, lace, deep red. And that's when I saw it. The name. Jake. She was texting him constantly. During dinner. In the shower. Even when she was supposed to be helping Mason with his math homework. I asked once, casually, still talking to Jake. Huh? She froze for half a second. Just enough. Then smiled. Yeah, he's funny. We joke around. Makes work less stressful. That was it. That was all she gave me. And that was the moment I knew. I waited until she fell asleep that night. Took her phone from the nightstand like a thief in my own marriage. I didn't want to look. But I had to. What I saw broke something fundamental in me. Her phone was warm in my hand, like it still pulsed with the lies she whispered through it. I stared at the lock screen. She'd changed her passcode weeks ago, something she hadn't done in 9 years of marriage. But I had a hunch. Her favorite number was 0425, her birthday. I tried it. Unlocked. A sick feeling washed over me as the screen opened, and a dozen message previews flooded in. The most recent? Jake, last night was amazing. I can still smell you on my shirt. My hand shook. I opened the thread. What followed was a digital wrecking ball to the life I thought I had. Message after message of flirting, innuendo, pictures I can't unsee. Worse, they weren't hiding it. They were bold. Unapologetic. It wasn't some fleeting mistake. It was a full-blown relationship. And I wasn't part of it. Vanessa told him things she hadn't said to me in years. Called him my escape. My fire. The only one who makes me feel alive. There were timestamps, hotel receipts, meetups planned while I was home feeding our kids and cleaning up bedtime accidents. She even lied about her Phoenix trip. She had flown to meet him. He wasn't a local fling. He was the main event. And the worst part? She didn't seem torn. There were no texts like, I don't know what I'm doing, or this feels wrong. Only things like, sometimes I wish I'd met you first. I can't believe how trapped I feel at home. If it wasn't for the boys, I'd already be gone. I sat on the edge of the bed while she slept beside me. Peaceful, breathing evenly, dreaming, maybe, of him. It took everything in me not to wake her up and scream. But I didn't. Not yet. I spent the next 2 weeks collecting everything. screenshots, receipts, messages backed up to my cloud. I even created a private folder, one labeled insurance, and copied the contents to a flash drive. I contacted a friend of mine, a lawyer, who said quietly, document everything. And don't let her know you know. Not yet. I became an actor in my own house. I kissed her good morning, packed lunches, took the boys to school, smiled when she came home late and said, long shift. But inside, I was rotting. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. She got sick, nauseous, lightheaded, missed work. Then she took a test. She was pregnant. She told me one evening while we were doing dishes, like she was breaking news about a lost earring. I'm pregnant, she said, not even looking at me. I froze. I didn't speak. I just dried my hands and stared. You okay? She asked, almost annoyed. I nodded slowly. Yeah, just surprised. I walked into the other room, closed the door, and for the first time in this whole nightmare, I cried. Not the silent kind, either. The full-body kind, where your chest heaves and your throat burns and you pray your kids don't hear you fall apart. Because here's the thing. She didn't say it was mine. She didn't even pretend. The timeline was off. I hadn't touched her in weeks, maybe months. I don't even remember anymore. And that's when it hit me like a freight train. She got pregnant, with his baby. The days that followed were surreal. She floated around the house like nothing had changed, maybe even lighter, as if the weight of guilt had lifted now that she no longer cared to hide it. She started humming again while cooking, watching old rom-coms at night. Her texts with Jake became more playful, more reckless. I didn't say a word. I was calm, controlled. I made the boys' lunches every morning, cracked dad jokes at the table, kept the bedtime routine running like clockwork. I was the steady heartbeat of a crumbling household. And she was somewhere else entirely. She hadn't told the kids yet. I don't think she planned to until she figured it out. But I knew the truth. Knew she was buying time. Waiting to see if Jake would step up. Waiting to see if she could land on her feet before she burned the last bridge. And I wasn't going to give her that luxury. I booked an appointment with my lawyer. Sat in her office, handed her the flash drive, the printed texts, the financial records, even the time-stamped call logs from the nights Vanessa swore she was at inventory meetings. She flipped through the pages, then looked at me with a calm, tight-lipped expression. You've done everything right, she said. You've been quiet. You've documented. You haven't retaliated. The court will take this very seriously. I told her I didn't want to fight dirty. I just wanted justice. And I wanted to protect my sons. Vanessa didn't know I'd already filed for divorce. She didn't know the papers were being prepped with a request for primary custody, citing adultery, emotional abandonment, and parental instability. And she definitely didn't know I'd made one more call. To Jake's wife. Turns out, he wasn't single. In fact, he had 2 daughters of his own. A beautiful family he'd been throwing away for late-night escapades with my wife. When I contacted her, Marissa, she was stunned. Quiet at first, then trembling with rage. I thought something was off, she whispered. But this is disgusting. We shared proof. I sent her the screenshots. She sent me even more, photos of them together at a supposed work party that was clearly a romantic weekend getaway. She thanked me. Said she'd been gaslit for months. Said she was done. That same night, Jake's life fell apart too. And I didn't feel the slightest bit sorry. Vanessa came home the next day unusually early. She looked shaken, red-eyed. The walls were closing in. She didn't say a word, just curled up on the couch and stared at the TV. I knew what had happened. Jake's wife had confronted him, thrown him out, exposed him to their friends and family. And now, the great escape Vanessa had been planning for months was looking a lot more like a burning bridge to nowhere. The next morning, I slid the divorce papers across the kitchen table. She stared at them for a long time. Silent. You're really doing this, she said, her voice small. I already did, I replied. Her eyes searched mine, maybe hoping for some trace of hesitation. Some signal that I still wanted to work it out. But I was empty. You can stay with your sister until things are sorted, I said. I've already spoken to her. She's expecting you. You told my sister before you told me? I nodded. She deserves to know who you've become. And so do the boys. That was when she broke. The woman who had strutted around for weeks like she had it all figured out, like she could juggle betrayal and motherhood in a secret relationship, suddenly looked small, cornered, scared. I didn't mean for it to go this far, she whispered. I almost laughed. You didn't mean to lie for months? You didn't mean to sleep with him in our bed while I was tucking in our sons? You didn't mean to get pregnant with another man's child? I shook my head. You meant all of it. You just didn't think I'd ever make you face it. She cried, tried to reach for my hand. I stood up and walked away. The silence after the storm was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. Once Vanessa moved out, the house felt hollow. The couch still held the shape of where she used to curl up. Her slippers remained by the door for a few days, as if her absence hadn't quite caught up with reality. But then, things started to shift. Eli became more relaxed, less tense. He started sleeping through the night again. Mason, who had been unusually clingy for weeks, laughed, genuinely, during movie night for the first time in ages. And I breathed. Not deeply at first. Grief doesn't let you inhale right away. It's a slow, bitter process. You let go of a piece each day, a memory, a hope, a version of the future that will never exist. I wasn't broken. I was bruised. But bruises fade. And I had 2 reasons to get up every day, no matter how tired I was. The court ruled in my favor. I was granted full physical custody. Vanessa was allowed supervised visitation until the custody evaluation was complete. Her instability, as the judge called it, and the paternity issue were factors she couldn't run from. Eli, though not biologically mine, told the court he wanted to stay with me, that he trusted me, that I was the only real father he'd ever had. I wept that night, quietly, in the hallway outside his room. The business I'd been building exploded in the best possible way. Clients came by word of mouth, then through referrals. Within months, I had to hire 2 assistants just to manage the growth. What started as a fallback became my freedom. People often ask if I've seen Vanessa since. Yes. She tried to apologize once, 6 months later. Said Jake left her. Said the pregnancy ended in miscarriage. Said she was alone, scared, and wanted to talk. But there was nothing left to say. I didn't hate her. I didn't need revenge anymore. I had already won the only thing that mattered, peace. She came back not for love, not for the kids, but because the fantasy she chased turned out to be a nightmare. And I wasn't about to reopen the door she burned down. These days, mornings are chaotic in the best way. Toast flying, school shoes lost, Mason yelling from the bathroom because Eli used the last of the shampoo. And every night, I tuck them both in. Eli's voice cuts through the dark one night. Dad, yeah, buddy. I'm glad you didn't go. I sit at the edge of his bed, ruffle his hair. I never will. I lost my wife, but I found myself. And in the ruins, I built something better. Not just a life, but a home.